talking about the other side, because you spoken, and when you spoken through that amendment was very clear. Amendment 4 is self-executing, and it doesn't need any legislative help to help decide and decipher what the people So with that said, let me get out of the way. I have the honor and privilege of representing 47, however 46 are actually seated representatives across the state. And let me move out of the way because I know my Democratic minority leader, Reverend Jones, has something to say. And followed by him would be our very own Representative James Bush III.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be very, very brief, but I know for a fact I want to say something that I don't think we caught when Representative McGee, Leader McGee, actually spoke. Leader McGee is the leader of the Democratic Party. I think that And it's such a pleasure to see one of our own representing a caucus of 47 members. And not only because he gets to lead the caucus, but he also gets to have a real seat at the table with the leadership that's on the fourth floor also, where he actually put our issues that enters into our community. He has the opportunity to put those things out on the table. And I think, Mr. Leader, we are so happy that you represent us. And I mean that. Leader McGee said it all, and he shared with you all of what's happening down on the fourth floor in a few minutes when the caucus, when we would get there in a few minutes, and there is a battle that's happening. But this is one thing that I'm happy about, and that is that what they don't understand is we've seen this before. Yeah. And not only did we see it before, we won this before. And I'm happy that NAACP is here because you could ask Leader McGee, you could ask Representative Bush, that anytime we tell them that the Black Caucus or the NAACP is against something, they want to automatically meet. So that means we still have power. And I believe that's a good thing. And it's such an honor to stand before all of you and many of you who have paved the way for individuals like myself and Leader McGee to be able to serve. And I have the honor and privilege of serving the 101st District down in South Florida, which encompasses Miramar, Pembroke Pines, West Park,
Broward County,
which is called Collar Ranches, Hollandale, and Pembroke Pines. It was a pleasure to be here with you all today. And again, I love you all and thank you all for fighting the fight that you all do. Thank you.
Broward County. Broward County. Broward County. Come on.
Get Broward over here.
Yeah, okay then.
Let me introduce y'all to none other than Reverend James Bush.
All right. Hey, Reverend.
However, let me just say how delighted I am to be here. I would be remiss if I did not say that some of the toughest leaders in this state, such as some of the toughest and the greatest leaders that we have here in the state of Florida, and the NAACP is in this room today. None other than, I believe that is Mr. Attorney John Dew. Let's give him a Our leader, Adora from Miami, Florida. Pastor Rufus Wood, who we grew up together in Panama City, Florida. Brad and many others that are here today to make up this great organization. I think you deserve a round of applause. Let me just be very brief. I would not be redundant. Most of the bills have already been discussed. And so I would just hit on at least one bill that I am the prime sponsor of. And that is House Bill 575, which is the direct file information bill, which essentially is putting young people from the ages of 18 and below into the adult system. And essentially what I'm trying to do with House Bill 575 is to amend Florida Statute 985.557. And what that does is just include in that statute a evidentiary hearing or a due process hearing. Presently, we do not, the young people today do not have an opportunity to be heard by a judge. They are just direct filed into the adult system. 20 state attorneys in this state determines the fate of our children. And so that is really who's defeating House Bill 575 and the Senator Powell's bill. And we need y'all to call those state attorneys and back them up off of us so we can get this bill heard, not only in the Senate, but in the House. It is inconceivable to think that a process would not allow young people an opportunity to at least be heard. The Constitution still applies to young people. They don't lose their constitutional rights when they commit a crime. And we're talking about non-violent crime. We're not talking about hideous crimes. We're talking about non-violent crimes, and they are direct violent children as young as 10 years old. And we have to put a stop to it. And the only way we're going to put a stop to it is that you're going to have to use your strength, your voices to say enough is enough. So in 575, we certainly need your help to help it. It's 14 states still have this kind of aggressive law in place. 3 of the states, only 3 states would not allow young people to have a due process hearing or an evidentiary hearing. That is the state of Michigan, that's the state of Louisiana, and that's the state of Florida. Those 3 states. And so we need your help to help us to break down this barrier to put our children behind bars. Now, really, they need to fill the jails. Let's just talk straight. They need to fill the jails, and now they're going now after our children. And so we have to make sure that, and I'll close with this, that the state of Florida really does not make another mistake. Because if you look at it, the Groveland 4 just recently was exonerated after 70 years. Lee and Pitts, and I just spoke at Mr. Lee's funeral. Lee and Pitts was exonerated from the mistake. We have 2 gentlemen just released 6 weeks ago from Jacksonville who was in prison for 42 years. They were exonerated. And the list just goes on and on and on and on. But there's one, and I'll close with this. This is the last close, Reverend. I'll close with this. If we ever in the state of North Carolina, there was a young man by the name of George Steeney Jr., 14 years old, the youngest child to ever be executed in this country. They found out after he was executed, they would not, matter of fact, they executed him the same year. Didn't give him a trial, wouldn't allow the parents to come to the execution, threatened the parents. They found out that after so many years that he was innocent. 70 years. He walked to the death row chamber with a Bible under his arm. And he asked his mother, he said, well, why is it that I'm being executed for something I did not do? 14-year-old child. 14-year-old child. So I say all that to say this. The first time they hit him with the electricity, it didn't kill him. But the second time, his eyes popped out, his heart. All of his organs. Just think about that. Picture that in your mind. If we don't deal with this today, we'll be where a Hispanic historian by the name of George Santayana said once, those who cannot remember the past are doomed to repeat it. And so we have a history. We cannot allow all of the gains that we have made over the last 30, 40 years to be reversed. We are a proud people, and we got to stand up and act like it. As Carter G. Woodson would say, a race without a history, a race without a worthwhile tradition is negligible in the thought of the world and is in danger of being exterminated. He goes on to say that we as a people fail sometimes to realize the necessity of employing history to formulate political strategies, social ideologies, and to even understand the substance of a people. And I close with the Lord.
You Baptist, you get at least 3.
You got one more.
You got one more.
Can I get one?
He Baptist, he get 3 closes. Everybody know that.
Let's give the members of our legislative Black Caucus a round of applause. As they are leaving, we can just keep the voices to a minimum. We still have 2 speakers. We still have 2 speakers that are waiting for us. Our next speaker really needs no introduction. He is the first African American leader of the Florida Education Association. Right? Yes. All right. Please join me in welcoming our friend, President Frederick Ingram.
Here, here.
Hi, good afternoon to everybody.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody. We can do better than that. Good afternoon. So maybe I can greet you in the words of Langston Hughes, where he said, "I too sing America."
Wow. Okay.
I'm the Dr. brother. That's what he said. He also said, you know, what matters to me may not mean anything to you, but I'm going to keep saying it until it drives you crazy. Our kids matter.
Yes.
Our schools matter.
All of them.
Those who take care of those kids every day matter. Teachers, bus drivers, paraprofessionals, clericals.
Yep.
You know who becomes the most important person at 5 o'clock every day in my household in America? The most important person in America is the bus driver. Because I put my middle school young lady, my prized possession, my 13-year-old, I put her on that bus every morning at 5 o'clock. That bus driver becomes the most important person in America. Because I expect them to, at 4 o'clock, be up and ready to go, have checked their bus, made sure that they have sustenance, that they can do their job. Make sure that they have checked and paid the roads for my daughter. Make sure that they can deal with all the other kids that are on that bus and get my daughter to her destination. That is how important that bus driver is every single morning to me. We have people in the Florida legislature that are attacking people like that every day. Attacking people like that every day. Let me just give you some statistics. Teachers in the state of Florida are 46th in the nation in teacher pay. That's right. We're 46th in the nation. Quick civics lesson. There are only 50 states. That's right. Thank God for Kentucky and Illinois and you know, those other folks, right? We are 46th in the nation in teacher pay. Black males make up 2% in the nation of teachers. 2% in the nation, Madam Adora. In the nation. We are 48th. If you're an educational support professional, a paraprofessional, a clerical, you're 48th in the nation in pay for public schools. Let me tell you just what happened today. Just what happened a few minutes ago. House Bill 7030 just passed its last stop. You may not know what House Bill 7030 is, but let me just share one piece of what it does. It allows teachers to carry guns in Florida's public schools. So, it's reached its last committee stop. It's going to go to the floor on next week. It is all but passed. So what happens when a teacher starts to carry a gun? Let me give you a couple of instances. When you have a kid my size, and there are kids in our high schools that are my size and bigger.
Yes. Yes.
They become the target number one. Because guess what? When you get the 5-foot first grade teacher who's not assimilated to the culture, you know, one way or another, and she kind of fears for her life, and she says, you know what, I know I gave you enough, but you need to kind of back up, and you know what we do? You know, nah, teach, we need to talk right now. I don't mean no harm, but I'm just going to express myself in the way that I can. You know what happens to that kid after this year? That kid could be dead. That's right. In a school.
Yes.
What happens when the second grade teacher is in a play corner and the gun falls off her person, off her hip, and then the gun goes off? Yeah. And it shoots your grandkid or your niece or your nephew or my daughter. That's what happens in a school when we're talking about in the state of Florida, we're going to arm teachers that a bullet is going to stop a bullet. If you've never been in the hood, you know better. You know better. Because I come from Miami-Dade County, in the mean streets of the inner city. grew up between Old Town and Liberty City. And I know what a gun does. I watched my best friend get obliterated by a gun. Put a gun to his head and shot him to death when I was in the 7th grade. So I know the effects, and many of you can tell those stories as well. These lawmakers in Tallahassee believe that the people work for them. The people don't work for lawmakers, lawmakers work for the people. And that's what's supposed to happen. So I may be a little bit edgy today because I represent 145,000 people who are working magic right now. They're in our public schools doing the best that they possibly can, with fewer resources, with much less pay, with no support out there, and with a profession that is being killed every day. You may not know, but we started this school year with 4,000 classrooms in the state of Florida that did not have a certified teacher. 4,000 classrooms. The Department of Education says that projection is going to be 10,000 next year. So what's happening? We are convincing young people not to go into our profession. And we are retiring folks that are my age and older faster than ever because they're running out of the classrooms. We can't strike in Florida, but we have a silent strike going on every day because there are teachers who are giving the keys to the principal saying you can have this. Every single day. And what happens in black communities? It happens twice as worse, twice as fast, twice as negative. And so I'm asking each and every one of you, the NAACP has always been that beacon of hope. Since 1954, this organization said, you know what? In our community, we deserve better. In our community, we ought to step up and lead. We ought to have what everybody else has. If it's good on this side of town, it should be good on this side of town. Charter schools don't do that. If you want to educate your kid in a private school, God bless you. Do it. No problem. But don't take my tax money and make me pay for it.
Right.
That's your decision. So we have this. I could talk to you about all kinds of things that are going on. I'm not. I want to just highlight 3 people who are here who are really close to my heart. Because if not for them, there will be no me. I want to acknowledge a treasure that you all have here in Tallahassee that you may know or you may not know. But Pamela Birch-Ford, let's give her a big round of applause. This young lady has more respect in Tallahassee than most people who come in and out of Tallahassee will ever have. And so I thank her for her insight. I want to also thank your president, Madam President, known all over this country as a fighter and a true leader and a teacher from Miami-Dade County. Thank you so much for being here.
You're here. You're here.
And finally, a young lady who, if not for her, there really would be no me. I'm the leader of the Florida Education Association. Many years ago, that would have been unheard of for a person of color to lead this organization for a lot of different reasons. But there were some people, very few people in the labor movement who led the way. And at United Teachers of Dade, we had a young lady who led that organization for 25 plus years. And she was the secretary treasurer for United Teachers of Dade. And everything I am, every single thing that I am is owed and belongs to the fight that she put in for teachers all across this state for a lot longer than I've been around. And so every chance I get, and she doesn't know this, but all over this country, I tell people about the freedom fight and the freedom walk of that young lady back there. Would you just stand up?
Yay, Dr. Johnson.
Many of you have mentors, and many of you have silent fighters that you all know. But we've got to celebrate these folks while they're here and give them every single opportunity to be acknowledged. Because let me tell you something, we cannot forget about our past. I always go back to 1954. That was the boldest move in the 20th century. Yes. That was the boldest move in the 20th century to say black kids can have the same thing that white kids can have. Everything. Everything that white kids have, we should have. Yes. And so don't ever forget that because you stand in front of freedom. You stand on the right side of justice. Keep fighting. Don't give up on our kids. I know you say that they're different. They're too fast. This is going on. Their music is all bad, but they just like you. That's right. In 1960, you were just like them. In 1970, you were just like them. Your mama told you not to wear a mini skirt too. Your mama told you not to wear bell bottoms too. You listened to Marvin Gaye when he said sexual healing too. So I'm just telling you, don't throw our kids away. Because they're in their generation, and yes, they have a lot more to deal with. And yes, they get information faster than we can ever dream of. And yes, they live in a world that is gone completely mad. But we must be that beacon of hope and light. We must not give up on kids. We know that we cannot judge a book by its cover. If somebody would have judged me a long time ago, they'd have told me my cornrows and my goatee would never get me out the hood. But I'm telling you, that I stand on the shoulders of giants, starting with my mama and my dad, who never went to college. My dad got a GED. My mom graduated from Miami Jackson Senior High School. They told me, I want you to grow up and get a job. God bless them. You know what they do every day? The same job that they've always done. For 43 years, my dad has gotten up and drove a city bus. And that's what he does. My mother took care of 5 boys in overtime. You know how hard that is? A bunch of knuckleheads. She put us through college. When she told me to go to Bethune-Cookman College, she said, you know what, sweetheart? I want you to go. I just don't know how you're going to get through. But we're going to get you through. So it was a bunch of Vienna sausages and a bunch of Fair packages that got me through. And my last point, Madam President, a bunch of student loans. A bunch of student loans. So I'm telling you, if you know a young person and you can help them get through college, not only pray for them, but give them some money towards their tuition. Because the best gift that we can ever give them is a debt-free undergraduate education. Let me tell you that. We cannot allow our best and brightest kids to come out of college with $60,000 and $70,000 and $80,000 in debt. That is the value of financial education. We cannot allow that to happen. So if you know a young person that's in college, help them with their tuition. Help them with their books. Help them get through college. Don't allow them to take out these egregious and predatory student loans so that they start life 10 years backwards already before they ever learn to move forward. And they can't qualify to get a job. They can't qualify to get a house. Their credit is all bad at 24 years old. That's something that we've got to change as a community. And that's something that we can do for ourselves. God bless you, God keep you. Shirley Johnson, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It is hard to follow the president. Let's give him a round of applause. So in that vein, as we're talking about predatory student loans and a few other consumer issues, the NAACP Florida State Conference, we have another state partner that we've been working with for the past several years. It's the Florida Alliance for Consumer Protection, and attorney Alice Vickers has been a strong partner with us on many of these areas for the past several years. So please welcome Alice Vickers.
Thank you for giving me a few minutes to talk to you all about consumer issues. But first I want to echo one thing of the previous speaker. I've been working on consumer issues since